We visited Valley Forge National Park near King of Prussia, Pennsylvania in the summer of 2015. If you would like to get notices when I post again, be sure to subscribe right here. Just click on that button. This is where it's located outside of Philadelphia. And this is the 3,466 acres that the park covers. It was designated as a national shrine in July the 4th, 1976, and was occupied by Washington's Army from December the 19th, 1777 to June 19th, 1778. About 2,000 soldiers died here from disease. They have about 1.5 million visitors each year.
Use the left 2 lanes to take the I-76 west exit.
Valley Forge was chosen for the small town with the manufacturing and an iron forge, had plenty of trees for building and water there, and also the location, 20 miles from Philadelphia, so they could watch it but not be sneak attacked. We'll look at this area first. Generals Knox, Maxwell, Sterling, and the Marquis de Lafayette were housed in this area. Most of the farmers really just wanted to be left alone, but these houses were rented for the generals to stay in. This was the winter of 1777, the third of 8 winters, and now we head over to the Visitor Center. Here we'll get to look at various things about the encampment. There was no battle ever fought here. The British had invaded, and Washington had not been able to stop them taking Philadelphia, so he came to Valley Forge and brought his soldiers here on December the 19th, 1777. They will stay 6 months. With 12,000 soldiers building 1,500 cabins, this will become the 4th largest town in the United States. They built redoubts like this in order to protect the area, and the British at Bunker Hill had attacked redoubts with disastrous consequences, so they didn't attack here. By January, over 4,000 soldiers were unfit for duty. Supplies were in short demand, and in the end, 1/4 of them will die from disease. Martha arrives in February. Also, a Prussian drill master, Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben, arrives to drill the soldiers and make them into an army. In March, more supplies arrive, and the British change their focus to the West Indies. In April, there's a prisoner exchange. In May, Washington forms a nurses' corps to help with the wounded, and he tells all of his soldiers to go to church. Skirmishes are starting to happen with the British in various places. In June, the British march toward New York, and the well-trained American troops follow behind them. Well, now look where Muhlenberg's brigade was and their cabins that they built. This is some of the 1,500 cabins. They have been reconstructed on the foundations. Here you can see how these log cabins were built. First, they cut the logs and stacked them into a cabin shape. Then they took mud and put it in between the logs to solidify everything, and then put a split shingle roof on the top. Let's take a look inside one of them to see what it looked like in there. This is part of the outer defenses, the redoubt that was built. They kept the British at bay because they didn't want to attack it. Now let's move on over to the National Memorial Arch area. This is dedicated to the officers and private soldiers of the Continental Army. Naked and starving as they are, we cannot enough admire the incomparable patience and fidelity of the soldier, Washington said. Next we head through the Pennsylvania columns. Soon we're moving to Wayne's statue. General Anthony Wayne was one of the commanders here from Pennsylvania, just a few miles away. Moving way on around, we come to Washington's headquarters, where he was headquartered. It was near Valley Forge, the little town itself. It was surrounded by farmlands, and much of it was trashed by the marching army. Across to the north, there was a support camp north of the Schuylkill River, and they would ferry supplies back and forth across it. We'll be taking the path around this area and looking. First we come to the train station. It wasn't here when Washington came. It was added later and was a place where passengers could come and look around. First we look at the huts built by the lifeguard. This was the Commander-in-Chief's personal detachment for security. They were the first ones trained by von Steuben as a model unit. They were required to be native-born Americans. The statue of Washington shows him wearing a military uniform, but with a walking cane, no sword. Also, he has his hand on 13 bundles for the 13 colonies that he bound together. It was made in 1796 and is maybe the most accurate presentation of Washington. Next we come to a barn and we see some of the iron forged materials that they've dug up here. Washington's headquarters was in the Isaac Potts house, which was unoccupied at the time they arrived. Built in 1760s, he did rent it, and there were 25 people living here. Let's have a look around. It changed several times over the years. This is what it looked like in 1861, 1880s after they were there, and what it looks like now with this detached kitchen to the left. Let's have a look inside. To the right is the aides office where they ran the army from and would often eat meals here. And then in the back right is Washington's private office. Upstairs to the right we come to George and Martha's bedroom. And there were also bedrooms here for various officers and visiting people. The kitchen was detached in case of fire, but did have a covered walkway going out to it. As we're heading out to the car, a train comes by the train station. This still is an active railway. And then we head over to the artillery park. This is where they kept their artillery so they could move it to wherever it was needed and do the needed repairs and watch over it. And now we head over to where General Varnum had his headquarters. He rented one room in this building where he ate, slept, and had his office. Here we also find a statue of von Steuben, the drill master. He took the army that was totally undisciplined and made it into a fighting unit, taught them how to load under fire and to march as a unit. Lastly, we head to the Washington Memorial Chapel. This church is an active Episcopalian church that still has services today.
War. Your war.